Have you all here, anticipating some more potentially. Those I don't know, my name is Gerald Bell, Communications Director for DVULI Servant Leadership Initiative. My colleague, Stephanie Donovan, is our Alumni Support and Liaison Coordinator as well, here in our office in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We are pleased to have two guest moderators that are alumni of our Leadership Development Program, Amy Williams, who is out of Chicago, and Thell Robinson, who is in Columbus, Ohio. They will moderate the conversation. Everybody else that's on will just take a few minutes to just kind of go around the Zoom so far, and those that jump on as well, we'll do the same with them. If you would unmute, tell us who you are, what city you're in, and kind of what you do, and we'll take it from there. And I'm going to start with Malalupe since I know this guy. Yes.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Malalupe from Federal Way, Washington right now. We're currently working at the Pacific Islander Community Association and doing I'm the director of the youth services here,
Okay.
and kind of doing a lot of different youth stuff here. But, yeah, nice to meet y'all and glad to be in this space this morning.
Glad you're with us. Glad you're with us. All right, let's see. J. Alexander, Jaron. Can you hear us, sir? All right, we will see what happens with Jaron Alexander, who I know as well. BL, first time introducing you, meeting you. Welcome to the dialogue. Let us know who you are.
Hello, everybody. My name is BL Sowage. I am also from Federal Way, Washington. I'm a youth navigator here at PICA, Pacific Islander Community Association, doing a lot of other youth stuff.
Okay. Jared, if you can hear me, I'm going to text you just to make sure that we're all on the same page. But we'd love to have you unmute your camera, introduce yourself, and we'll go from there. But I don't want to speak on his behalf until I know for sure that he can fully participate. So what I won't do is delay this conversation any further. I'm just going to give us some quick ground rules, and we'll jump right in with our moderators and allow them to guide the conversation on today. We ask that you keep your audio muted, but keep your camera unmuted the entire time. Unless you're talking, you can unmute your audio. If you have questions or commentary, we ask that you do as much as possible to keep your comments to like 60 to 90 seconds, just so that we can hear from everybody and be fair with the time. In addition to that, we are recording this, and we'll also have notes available as well. Feel free to use the chat and any of your reactions in terms of emojis if you feel as though it's appropriate. You want to drop commentary in the chat, that's fine too. But we love to hear people and interact with. We love human interaction, so as much as possible, definitely unmute and share your thoughts or raise your questions. There is in the chat, if we don't have your email address, if you would drop that in also, so that way we can make sure that the notes, when they're done, the recording version of this as well will go to everybody that's on this call also. It'll be posted on our website so that those that are not able to make the call but are interested in this subject matter will have a chance also to hear and see what takes place. All right. All right, Mr. Barrington, good to have you, my friend. Everyone has gone around and introduced themselves. If you would take a moment to unmute, introduce yourself also, where you're from, and what you do and where I know you're from, but I'll let you share all that. I need you to unmute so we can hear you, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to give, okay, so I was going to give everybody else a chance to share, but my name is Barrington Smallwood. I'm from Washington, D.C. I've been serving, doing youth ministry over like 20 years, but I've been doing outreach ministry for the last 10 years in the Woodland Terrace community in Ward 8, D.C. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
Good deal. Yeah, everybody actually has kind of gone around, and so when I saw you jump in, I think there's one other person that's on. I'm waiting to hear what they're from as well. But the ground rules are keep your audio muted unless you're talking. Keep your video unmuted so that we can see your face. Just know that this is being recorded. You can use the chat as well. If you have any comments or questions, which we hope that you will, we'd ask you to keep those to 60 to 90 seconds so that everybody has a chance to interact. This is a 1-hour conversation moderated by Amy Williams and Thell Robinson. And I am going to turn it over to our moderators and kick off with ladies first. Amy, take her away.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Amy Williams. They call me the hope dealer to the dope dealer. I am in Chicago. I have been doing youth work for 30 years. In August, it'll be 30 years. And work mostly with youth that are gang involved and in the criminal justice system. So currently I bring a lot of restorative justice programming into the juvenile prisons. So we know that there's a lot of gang activity within the prison system as well. That is a totally different world than gangs on the street. But love what I get to do. And like Gerald reminds me, I'm also an author. My first book is coming out in June. And thank you. It highlights the work that I've done, the mistakes that I've made. It's called Worth Seeing. Viewing others through the eyes of God. So how do we see those on the margins the way that God sees them instead of the way society treats them? So that's kind of who I am. Thell, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Thell Robinson III. I'm based in Columbus, Ohio, but I'm originally from Southeast DC. So I see you from Woodland Terrace, and check my book out, Going Hard. Woodland, Langston Lane is all in there from 93 to 95. So, I had to put that out there. But Hawk Violence has been around 10 years. I got Going Hard, 7-year bid and Testing My Faith. Books out now on Amazon based on my life. Currently, we're trying to do a documentary, hopefully to get picked up by Netflix or, pay for it myself like I did my books and put my story out there to help the people that was once like me. So we don't do gang intervention. We call it squash and beef because up here is neighborhoods. And even though it's gang members up here, the last data that they had, it was only like 31% gang related. So, some of these beefs be behind a female, domestic violence, drug deals gone bad, jealousy, whatever you name it. But society, as far as the feds, police, probation, label stuff as gang to further their funding agenda. But I know Chicago, they're gang related, so that's why Amy's is probably like that. But as far as Columbus, we just call it squash and beef because it's neighborhood beef and individual beef.
Wow, good deal. All right, thank you so much, Amy.
Yeah. Well, I have an interesting statistic that I want to share with everybody. And we're going to see how does that inform your work. So according to a study at Sam Houston State University, the typical gang member joins at age 13 and only stays active for about 2 years. 2 years. I've always been told it's 2.5 years, but our young people, whether they decide this is not for them, whether something happens to them, whether they're killed, whether they get incarcerated, the average lifespan of a teen gang member or a teen youth that is involved in a gang is 2 years. So if we know that as a house of faith, how does that inform your work?
All right. Good to have Dr. Bernard Franklin on. We'll take the question, any responses to her question as it relates to the statistic. And I'll just say this, as a youth worker and as a volunteer youth worker at a church here in Michigan, when I think about that, because we're in a community that is increasingly becoming populated with international students, if you will, and specific influx of Nigerian, et cetera. Won't want to get into all the demographics in that regard, but we've seen ourselves attract a lot of non-natives, especially a lot of non-native students. And for those that are in that age range, it's kind of heartbreaking to know that there's that influence between the age of 13 and 15 or whatever it is that lures them away. And for us, it's a lot of I won't say babysitting, but you find yourself having to contend with the fact that they come in with big overcoats on to Sunday evening worship or big backpacks, and we don't know what's in them. We don't have security detectors. Distract a lot of the worship that's taking place. And it's a place for their parents to kind of dump them off that they believe is a safe spot. But you know that their lifestyles outside of church are something completely the opposite. And I think for us, it's like, okay, what do we do with that if we're not trained in it to deal with the level of violence and or rebellion that a young person brings into a community of places where you've got some students that are doing very well, want to be there because it's church, are there to worship, and then you've got this dynamic going on also. So for me, it informs me that, okay, I got a lot of homework to do to make sure that I'm saying the right thing to them, because anything could trigger them off. And yet there's been some cases where we've had to ask young people that were gang affiliated to leave our services, get out of the building, or call the police just because of just their behavior, threats, bad manners, etc. And so for me, it's like it informs me about to what expense is this going to mean if we start to attract those kind of people in a setting such as church. Same time, you want them there. You want them to receive the gospel. You want them to be in church. But you've got this thing where you're attracting these individuals, and I've gone over my 60 seconds, sorry, that is gang affiliated, but then you also got these other kids that are non-gang affiliated, safe to be around, want to come and worship, doing good in school, and you're trying to mesh all these kids together. It's a hard dynamic, and it's a frustrating one as well. Especially when I'm in a church where we're multicultural, very few people of color, or fewer people of color, and then the people that are gang affiliated are people of color. And so you got the non-people of color saying, okay, you know, the people of color that are leaders, y'all need to handle this because we're not touching it, right? So we got, you know, some major equipping to do as well. So it's a tough spot to be in. Yep.
So no one in your congregation has a past to be able to step up in a leadership role to engage with those individuals, or no one in the area, or someone come down and train your congregation, because that's all that needs to be done. You know, because so people want the youth to come into the church, but then when they come and then you're experiencing what you experience, then they don't want them in there. So it's the church responsibility to do the work. You just got to roll up them sleeves to do the work.
And I think on Thell's point too, it's about relationship, right?
Yeah.
These young people are coming for a reason. They may not know the reason, but they're coming and they're looking for those relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's relationships that are going to change the culture.
But it's like when you got 2 or 3 that want to hang out in the bathroom while worship is going on, then you got to go in the bathroom and drag them out. And then they're looking at you like, okay, well, I'm in the bathroom. Can I use the bathroom? When you know they're not really using the bathroom.
Right.
You know, so yeah, but I think to your point, the training piece, I just took notes because like, okay, I'm going to recommend that to the lead youth pastor. Why are you not equipping the people to handle this kind of stuff versus letting them come in with their backpack, springtime, big winter coats on, you know, and show up in church, sit in the back, and kind of thug out, if you will. You know, so I appreciate the tip on that. Yep.
Can I share something?
Yep.
All right, so I think both of those is important. The training and the relationship piece. Everything that God wants to do in our lives and our church and our communities is always going to happen through relationships. So I believe that churches should invest more into their urban leaders that have the connections, that's able to go into the hoods, that know how to communicate, that know how to build relationships, so that when the kids come, those leaders know exactly what's going on with them, why they're dressed the way, why they're doing what they're doing, and they know exactly how to communicate to them in a way that's not offensive or they feel threatened or disrespected. You know, so I think churches should invest more into their urban leaders, and they'll see a big difference in terms of when the kids come in, how they're behaving and how they're conducting themselves because of that relationship that they have with their leader.
But the important thing is that they inside that building though.
100%.
That's the most important thing right there. They inside that building.
That's right. They're there for a reason. They're looking for something.
Yeah, we're surrounded by apartment complexes that are affordable, which means that in many cases, there's not a lot of food in the house, and we serve pizza every Sunday. We serve chips and hot dogs every Sunday. And honestly, most kids come there and my heart just goes out to them because they're grubbing out like crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And after they've had a plate or two, they come back, is there any more food left? You know, and it's just like, that may have been their only meal that day, you know? And so you're right. You're right. We get them there, they get fed, we got basketball courts, we got stuff, we got loud music playing, you know, special effects going on, and then they got their own effects going on as well, you know? So, but no, I appreciate that. Those are good tips. Yep.
I think I'm hearing a few things here. Like, one thing is, I think we might be asking the wrong questions. Is like, I don't think anyone has posed like, why are they even going to gangs and why is that an attraction to them, right? And so maybe like somebody had mentioned relationships. Maybe they're not getting those healthy relationships or the relationships that they need from their family or even their church, right? There can be a lot of harm that is happening from the church as well. Church is supposed to be a safe space, but it isn't always that way. And so I think one is the training of our leadership in the church, not just those who work with youth, but everyone in the church should be able to handle like anyone who comes to the church. And then also thinking about like, I heard some language today about like the hood. Like, what if your church is in the hood? Like, you can't escape it. So like, are we going to say like we have our preference supersedes the need for us to outreach to people? I don't know if that's what we need. I don't think that's a priority. Like, we may be comfortable because we've been in the church for a long time, but making sure that we are staying relevant to the people that need Jesus the most. I don't know.
Very good. Yep.
And then, so with Halt Violence, you know, we don't use the verbiage gang because we're not against gangs. So some of these individuals, when it comes to gangs, that's all they have. And some of these gangs are bad and some of them are good, but you have to have a relationship to know what they stand for. So if you got some 15 and 16-year-olds and that's all they got is each other, and here it is, their mother is on crack or on heroin and their father in jail or dead, and that's all they got is each other because the grandmother is too old to keep up with what's going on in the community. This is why some, not all, some join gangs, and you know what I mean? And they become family. So like when people go to funerals and then immediate family say, oh, only the family can get some of these brochures, but here it is, these friends been hanging out every day, sleeping on each other's couch, and it's disrespectful when they came and get a obituary for closure. So that's society verbiage that all gangs are just terrorizing the community and this, that, and the third. But it's not like that when it comes to certain cases. You know what I'm saying? Because their relationships and their family. You know, so we're against gun violence. You know what I mean? We're not against gangs. You know what I mean? Because some of these individuals, that's all they got is their neighborhoods and the gangs that they run with. Because all of them is not doing illegal activities. Because if they're living in a neighborhood and it's gang related, they can't choose where they live at. You know what I mean? So they adapt to the environment, but that don't mean they got to participate in everything that's going on illegal or bad.
Can I say some? I appreciate the conversation we're having right now. If you're not like hearing about the relationship piece and just and the training piece as well. One of the things I wanted to say though, you can't really you gonna train some urban leaders. You feel me? You can't always train somebody and put them in front of somebody to build that relationship, right? You gotta train somebody who has that background, that history of what that youth is going through. You feel me? so that they can see somebody that lived that life that they're going through right now, to be able to sit down with them and like, yeah, I understand what you're feeling. I understand what you're going through, because I've been there, and I can, you know what I'm saying? I can speak about the path that I've taken to where I am right now. I mean, I like how, what do you call it? I like how brother said it's not a gang affiliation. It's not a what do you, yeah, it's not a gang affiliation. These youth are organizing. You feel me? They're organizing, bro. They're doing things that we're doing right now, but maybe not in a positive way, but they're doing some organizing work in their own way. They're doing some organizing work that can, if put some positive push to it, they can do something big with their organizing work. You feel me? So I think if we're gonna put somebody in front of these youth, it has to be somebody with background on, like, they've been through poverty, they've been through the incarceration system, they know what it feels to have a mother or father that has substance abuse. They have, you know what I'm saying, gang affiliation before they change their ways, this and that. You feel me? But yeah,
I appreciate what you just said, BL, because it reminds me of, I know of some gang affiliated folks in Texas, and these kids actually collected blankets for homeless people to give out in the wintertime. You know, that they were, yeah, gang affiliated, but doing something positive, you know. Oh, it's amazing. Yep.
And I think, to add on to what BL was saying, I think that it takes a kingdom, right, to surround young people. And I think that kingdom should include all different types of people as well. I've never been in a gang. I've never been incarcerated. I don't have the background, but I have the calling. I'm the mama, the auntie, the big sis, to these young people. So I think a combination of those, and I try to introduce them to people who have been through what they've been through as well. But it takes a kingdom, right? So we don't want to ignore those that may have a real heart for this, may really feel compassion or called to it, to also walk alongside them. So we need a community of people to surround our little brothers and sisters.
But see, like what Gerald was saying, so when you have that, when you got a congregation that's uncomfortable about what's going on, so when God called me to lead all violence, regardless of my state bid, my federal bid, me previously being a drug dealer and a shooter, to the city officials, I'm unqualified, but for the kingdom, I'm qualified for the type of work of the community that it needs. You see what I'm saying? So when we spot something like that, when these juvenile courts are dealing with individuals that they don't know how to deal with, and when they come to halt violence and we give them that talk, because we got people that's relatable to them, they wondering how it's being done because they got these degrees and not taking up from a degree. I got a degree, but they don't have the relationship. They don't have the street knowledge to engage with the individual they're trying to help. They're being standoffish and not knowing what to do, when you got to learn and just be relational. That's it. You see what I'm saying? But if you can't be relational, if you don't got the experience, so you got knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is knowing a thing. People can Google and go through all these workshops and Zooms and all of that, but wisdom is knowledge and experience. So this is where the redeemed come in at. Those that have changed, that used to live that lifestyle, to be able to go back into those trenches and help these troubled youth and young adults and even adults that society don't know what to do with. And that's what it's about.
Nah, that's good, man. If I can just share just a little piece of my experience working in Woodland Terrace, it took years to build trust in that community, because they so used to people coming in, for grants and stuff like that. Once the funding run out, they're gone. And that can be a legitimate reason. People have bills to pay, stuff, but I was able to stay. And so I'm at a place now where they're handing off their children to me. Like, they really don't know me like that, but it's like the trust is just out the roof, where the parents are saying, here, take them. not just for me being a babysitting service or anything like that, but I can represent the only hope that they have for their children to see something different, to dream, to have a vision beyond all the violence that's going on in that community. So I also say this about this trust piece. I mean, I literally can leave my office door open, you know, and nobody will go in there. It's because everybody knows me. You know, it's like, you know, I'm not just coming in. I'm not just coming in as a service provider. I'm not coming in as a minister. Now I have become a brother. So when people start seeing you as a brother, you know, the relationship changes. Whereas though, no, you're not speaking down to me. You're speaking to me. So sometimes it takes years to build that trust with people, with youth, you know, and that doesn't always mean we're going to do things the right way. It means sometimes when you off, apologize. You know what I'm saying? Because it builds that they say, oh man, this guy's real, man. He the real deal. He may not be the sharpest pencil in the box, but man, he care about us. So I think that goes a long way. Just showing up day in and day out in these young people's lives, you experience major breakthroughs. So
They say 85% of youth ministry is showing up, then showing up again, then showing up again. Right? So you're so right. It is the consistency of presence.
Yep.
There's a quote with that we use a lot with mental health, that you can't be what you can't see. And so that's why it's so important to have those key people in the community as examples, whether it's an auntie or whether it's, you know, someone who's, you know, changed their life. You can't be what you can't see.
Yep. All right, I think Thell has the next task here. We're about 30 minutes out before we have to shut it down. So I'm gonna let y'all keep moving.
Okay, what barriers have you encountered and what steps are you taking to address them? You know, so in the beginning of Halt Violence, we had barriers because they didn't recognize the gift that Halt Violence provided. And because of my previous background, you know, Halt Violence got looked over. And so, but because this is God calling, God has provided, you know, to whereas though they knocking at the door, but we keeping it shut because we won't work with the police. And so if you are truly called to this type of ministry, you have to crawl before you can walk. And I'm quite sure Gerald can remember when I first started in 2014, but I met up with DeVos in 2015. So my basic knowledge that I got in beginning was the foundation of the verbiage that they gave me through that 15-month leadership training, which set the foundation to where we at now. So you can't look at the beginning in your first couple of years and looking at the funding and like, you know, this is not it. Because if that was it, I would have been tapped out. You know, I was using my book money to sustain Halt Violence, which, you know, Halt Violence can't sustain Kashmir Publication, you know what I mean? But I did it because this was my purpose. So if you are truly in your purpose, regardless of what you encounter as far as barriers, you have to keep pushing and God will provide. And on the other side, it will get greater later. And then you will be able to empower someone else that's going through the beginning stage.
You know, and I think, you know, I appreciate that, Thell, because Thell, just so you know, I facilitate the resource networking workshop for DVULI. And I tell your story a lot about when you were in the news over the holiday season. They did a story package on your program. And all of a sudden, you got the number of phone calls. People started inquiring, wanting to give money, wanting to bless the organization, wanting to learn more about it. Just that exposure, you know, and I think it was how they told the story. I mean, you were just yourself. You were real. It attracted people. I appreciate that. But you know what? I think the funding barrier is just always going to exist on stuff like this. Nobody wants to pour out money on helping gang members, you know, or gang intervention, you know.
They do now because Columbus has lost his mind during the pandemic. So Columbus was one of the cities that increased violence during the pandemic. you know what I mean, as well as Baltimore, and I believe DC too. You know what I mean? Chicago's it's like 12 cities. So now Columbus is so conservative, and I believe Chicago too. So it's like 12 cities, but it's been a minute. But now they're starting to pay attention to that. But see, they want to be in control. They want individuals to work with the police. And in order for an agency that's really doing this work to be impactful, police can't be involved. And so that's where it comes at with the funding for city officials. Now, when you got foundations that's outside of city officials, you know, then you can get some rhythm, but it's not the amount like the city officials, you know what I mean? But you just have to do funding here, funding there, and funding there to accumulate to a city amount. That's all. It's more work, but it's safer.
So what are some of the issues or the barriers that you guys are dealing with when it comes to the work?
The thing for us is because we work with the specific population, we know a lot of the youth that we're working with, and like outside of the context of work. So they may be our little cousins that we're doing this work with, and so there's a lot of layers there, and so it kind of gets messy. But yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna share.
So when it comes to that, do you have staff that can continue that torch and just step out of it? Because when it comes to those type of situations, we tell our street mentors, if it ever get involved when it's a family member, somebody too close, you got to take a step back. You know what I mean? Because the information you got could be detrimental to a situation. So because you're saying it's family, do you have team members that can step in and take over? So because it's too close to home.
We do have other staff that are not related, but our community is very small, where even if they're not my blood family, like I know who they are, like that kind of thing. And so it kind of messes up things a little bit, but we try our best to like be very objective and like get other people who are not attached to those folks.
And then
I'd
that's
like
where
to know
that
how you
balance,
guys, oh, sorry.
that's where that balance come in at. And then in the training, you know, Gerald, you talk, y'all empowered on balance, and even OSU talk about self-care. And so when you got that balance, and when you come across, you know, situations like that, you literally got to use those three words, mind over matter, even when your feelings is on high and it's involved. You know what I mean? To where so you literally got to step away and let, you know, the other team members deal with it regardless of what you know and the relationship you got, so that the emotions won't override the mind in a situation that could be detrimental.
I was going to say, how do you guys deal with systemic barriers? We have a lot of that in Chicago, racism, poverty, the school systems. Do you find that some of those things are barriers as well?
I wish Jared could unmute who's on this, because he actually works in the school system. What he does, Jared has he runs a barbershop, and I think you can see the picture where there's somebody sitting in a barber chair, but he goes into schools. They let him set up in schools, cut hair in schools, and listen to the kids and talk with them.
Oh, that's great.
Site. Yeah, which is a phenomenal program. Yeah. And I keep texting him, and I think he must be busy doing something.
Cutting hair.
But yeah, I think that kind of stuff, getting access, you know, to the kids, that's a barrier. I'm sorry, Amy, what was your question again?
How do you guys deal with those type of systemic barriers?
This is
Are they barriers?
I think for the school barriers, we try to make sure that we go into these schools as much as we can, build relationships with these schools, try to create MOUs, things like that, making sure that the schools are held accountable, because they, they get fundings, they get all the monies to make sure that they support the students in our school system, in the school systems. But a lot of the time they use that to fund other like extracurriculars, like sports or things like that. And we also make sure that like outside of school we hold programs, things like that. And I think a lot of the time it leaves from school, right? It goes from school. That's where that term school to prison deportation pipeline comes in. A lot of the time, a lot of these students don't feel like they're their their basic needs are met, or they feel safe at school, or they feel like they're understood at school. The staffs don't take their time to understand where these students are coming from, how they're living in poverty, or their cultural differences, or the language barriers, things like that, right? So we try to make sure that I think that's where the barriers are. Is that we try to educate the teachers on the different ethnicities, different cultures, different languages within our community.
That's great. That's great. So as we talk about barriers, what kind of tools do you use in your ministry that help you instruct or mentor or do this kind of thing? What kind of tools are you guys using that you can share with others?
So we have a men's group. It's called the Men's Roundtable. And we're going on 1 year of coming together. It's a faith-based men's support group where a lot of the OGs from the community, they have been joining in. And a lot of other brothers from different communities been joining in. So we've been meeting outside. And we've been in the Word, we've been praying for one another. And we might have a little something to eat afterwards, but that has really been I think a barrier has been removed by us being out there as men, because it's drawn a lot of the children. They just want to hang around because nobody's rolling dice, nobody's cussing, nobody's arguing. And it's just something that a lot of the people are drawn to. And now what we've been doing these last 2 weeks was we'll gather on the corners and we'll just fellowship. We'll have some music playing, we'll read a scripture. So I think just the presence of men, it does something for a community because it says a lot, yeah. So I think that's one of the ways that we're removing some barriers to help people feel safe and to even join us. So
That is great. Who else has tools that they use that they can share with us that help them in their ministry?
I mean, I'm here. This is a tool.
That's right.
Leaning on y'all for understanding and like getting ideas. I know the work that we do is not a silo, and so making sure to leverage the knowledge and experiences of other folks that have been doing the work, and so really trying to be a part of a collective approach.
And it takes the holistic approach. It takes a kingdom, right? We bring in restorative justice programming. So a lot of times that includes peace circles in the prisons, which is a safe space for young people to be able to talk and share. We do art, music, writing, all the ways that young people can express themselves and develop relationships with positive mentors. Anybody else want to share about anything that they are using that's effective? Okay, well, thanks for sharing that.
I'm going to drop something in the chat real quick here. This may not technically. Oh, there's Jaron right there. I was about to put his most recent news package in the chat. Jaron, good to have you on, brother. You can. He's doing a pizza party with some kids right now in the school. So
Okay.
he's violating.
Well, real quick, if I may, I'm Jerron Alexander, go by Jay, and I'm out of the Louisville cohort. And some of the barriers that I use is actually the music. I use negative connotation music to reach the youth. And basically, I ask them, what are they benefiting or gaining from listening to this type of music? Excuse me. And within my curriculum, they explain why they listen to it. And then I ask them is during the course of the curriculum, I ask them, is it beneficial or harmful to our community? And if so, add some solutions to help provide change. So really, I use negative music to help bring about positive change. And I'm in the school where I'm at today. This is my last day cutting hair here for the school year. And we're going to be doing a pizza party in 18 minutes. So it's my way of giving back to all the students who have participated in my program and things of that nature. So this is my way of giving back. So I got a few pieces and want to share this with them.
Quickly,
Tell us a little bit about your curriculum.
tell everybody what Thoughts Out Loud is about.
Okay, Thoughts Out Loud is a mental health and violence prevention program. And basically I put it in different schools in JCPS and libraries now. So basically it's a program that where children can be in a safe place and speak their thoughts out loud, basically. So they open up about mental health and they open up about violence. If there is a problem per se, a real emergency, then I'll reach out to the mental health admin here at the school that I'm at. And then I'll say, hey, Jeremy brought this to my attention. Would you like to address that? For one, I'm just an advocate, so I'm not a clinician. So I refer those individuals to those individuals that actually can help in that aspect. I'm just the listening ear.
That's cool. Yeah, you're contracted by the school system there, right? You're under contract?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir. And I have another one with the city of Louisville as well. It's called Ocean Office of Safe and Healthy Neighborhoods. So on Mondays at my barbershop, they'll bring children who are in the program at Ocean, which are oftentimes troubled youth that are already in the system, whether they wearing ankle monitors or on probation or just going to alternative schools. They'll bring them to me via van, and then we'll talk about why they going through what they're going through. So I'll, like I said, the curriculum starts with what type of music you listen to, who's your favorite song, does those lyrics benefit? Are they helpful to our community? Do you think that they are suffering from some sort of mental trauma that leads to the violence? Do you think that the writers or performers are going through some sort of mental trauma in order to write and express themselves from that type of perspective? Do you think music plays a negative or positive role in the decisions that one makes suffering from unaddressed mental trauma that might perpetuate violence? Then at the end of the question is 8, within your own words as a solution to the violence that plagues our community, what do you think you can add to be done to decrease violence within our community? And then on the back, they write their thoughts out loud, basically the name of the program. And then they give me a questionnaire at the end. Do you think the program is beneficial? Did you like talking to me? Do you think you can help by reflecting on your own answers for the solutions? Are you going to implement these solutions? So
That is great.
Due to the fact that I'm in school, I can't really use a faith base per se, but I use meditation. I'll go within yourself to think and, things of that nature.
That is great.
Yeah, I thank you
our
so much.
Our communities could use more curriculum and tools like that.
Yes, ma'am. I thank you.
Yep.
That's an
This is my little
excellent,
headquarters.
that's an excellent job that you're doing, man.
Nice.
This is my little headquarters.
Love it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's just my little headquarters.
That's cool. Yep. Here at the school.
Love it.
Sir?
You're right. That's right there at the school.
Yes, sir. I'm in the school, Wilkerson Elementary School right now. They've carved out a space for me to provide my barbering services as a full-fledged barbershop. So the state board has come and inspected. So everywhere I go, the state board comes and inspects to make sure it's operable like the way it's supposed to be.
That's cool. Cool. Yep.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank you.
with us and taking
I had to
time because
jump
we know
on
you
real
got to do
quick.
this pizza party. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to jump on real quick. I didn't want to let my cohort down, but I was listening. It's just I couldn't put my face in the place until I got an opportunity to say something to you. And
Right.
But I want to continue to uplift you and encourage you in your method of the music, because Paul said, I became a Jew to gain the Jew. I became weak to gain the weak. And so you getting down on their level to talk about something that they like, but then switching it. And that's what it's about. You know what I mean? So many people like to, you know, speak negative about the music, but here it is, you're using the music as a tool and you're meeting them right where they at. And that's what it's about, man. You know what
absolutely,
I mean?
I appreciate it, brother.
That's the key. That's the key right there, man. Keep doing that, using that music. Like
Thank you. I appreciate it.
For our event next week, Future just dropped a new album, and he got a hook on there. Such and such is really like that, and
Right.
we using that theme for the North Side to get them to come out there, because the North Side is the wildest of Columbus. And so coming down on their level and then engaging with them with the music, but then using clips, other verses and the bars to break it all the way down. So you're doing an excellent piece with that, man.
Thank you.
That is so key, man. I just wanted to say that to you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, Jan, you have raised the bar really high, bro. And we'll be thinking about some ways in which, man, we can make it possible for people to do some site visits and come and hang out with you in Louisville.
Oh, wow. The principal's office is coming to me.
Whatever.
All right, brother.
Whatever,
Thank
man.
y'all. Huh? Peace.
All right, take a stay. Go ahead and mute. All right, we're right at about 10 minutes before we need to wrap up. Amy, what you got?
Yeah, so we're gonna wrap this up, but wanted to ask you guys what kind of professional development resources that are currently out there that we need to put on our radar, like conferences, workshops, podcasts, those kind of things. And I'll start by saying Global Homeboy Industries Conference in Los Angeles. I'll be going there this year myself. You know, he's the largest gang intervention ministry in the country. And huh?
I'm sorry. Father Boyle, who was that?
Father Greg Boyle, Global Homeboy Conference. The Father Greg of Homeboy Industries. And that's in July, the end of July. And all his books and my book.
Is this workshop open and available for anybody to attend?
Absolutely.
And
I think Gerald is looking for the website. I can post the website.
Okay.
I was just going to drop in what little bit I knew. That's Father Boyle of Homeboy Industries. It's in California, right?
It is. It's in Los Angeles.
Right.
I'll send a link out when I send the notes as well.
Okay.
Yep. Man, this has been so great. Great. Any other resources? Anything anybody else would say, okay, here's a go-to to equip yourself? I always say this: if you can't identify any resources, that maybe God is calling you to create it. Thell?
Echo and Green, which is one of our funders, they are phenomenal. Cheryl Dorsey, I never met a leader like her. You know, she done advocated for me in the Public Welfare Foundation in DC. That was one of our previous funders, to where Woodland Terrace offered to give us one of the apartments to do the work right then and there in 2020. No, this was in 2019 before the pandemic. And so, and even when she came to Columbus and did the same thing, you know, not to mention they workshops, they conferences, down to earth and real, not being politically correct and all of that. So just, you know, being in a space that is for you, not trying to rub elbows to get funding and being in spaces that's not for you. You know what I mean? Because somebody wants what you got. You know what I mean? And you just got to keep putting in the footwork to get it. You know what I mean? Because although we're not where we want to be, we know where we used to be. And it comes from continually educating ourselves. Even with the Columbus Foundation, which is the 7th largest foundation in the United States that's here in Columbus, we have been named one of 5 nonprofits to look out for in 2022, and they have opened up doors for us. And so when you get that type of education from these individuals, and then you take it on with your experience and knowledge, you're really able to impact the community, and you keep leveling up. So regardless of the impact that you got currently, if you don't get the proper tools and education to keep sharpening your wisdom, you know, you're just gonna stay stagnant. You know what I mean? You got to keep leveling up. The minute you stop learning, the minute you stop leveling up.
So what was the name of that resource? Echoes and Green?
Yeah, Echo and Green.
Okay.
They're a global funder, and they have multiple outlets.
Yep.
Matter of fact, this year in October, we're doing our convening in Africa. And this will be my first time going, and I can't wait.
So I'm one that always like to do shameless plugs. Amy Williams' new book comes out next month.
It comes out June 25th.
What's the
But
title?
if you order from the publisher, you'll get it before the release date.
What's the title?
It's called Worth Seeing, Viewing Others Through God's Eyes, especially
right.
those on the margins.
And Phil, you have some books on the market as well.
Yes, Going Hard, which is part 1, my street life from 91 to 96. Started out in DC, then in Baltimore, Annapolis, and then Columbus. Then the 7-year bid is part 2. Karma came and got me from living that going hard life. And then that's about incarceration and then trying to straighten up. But then my past was knocking at the door. And then Testing My Faith is where I caught a Fed case, and God set me down to unlearn me and learn me to what I'm doing now. Because the person that you're seeing now and what you see in the character of the book Going Hard is night and day. And you'll see God's glory, and you'll appreciate the work that I'm doing now through God's glory.
Well, y'all need to know these books are for grown-ups, all right?
Yeah.
You gotta be able to handle some heavy stuff.
Mine are for young people too. I've sent a bunch to my young people that are locked up. So I want them to be able to see themselves, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
But I had done book curriculums with the schools, but I just stopped since the pandemic. But yeah, I used to do, so like what Jay was saying, you know, using that negativity into a positivity. You know what I mean? So.
Hey, my brother, I'm sorry. How can we stay in contact? I want to connect with you and
let me put my information in the chat.
Okay.
So when I send out the resource page, I will include all of your emails in it. So if you want to connect with each other that way, you're welcome to do that as well. Our goal is to have this discussion twice per year. But if you guys want to have discussions outside of that, God bless, we're more than happy for you to do that.
So since you're right there, you know, we could do something on a collaborative, you know, as far as get back, because I'll be back home in September for a family reunion. So we can set something up, you know what I mean, and make it happen, and Hawk Violence to take care of everything.
Oh man, let's do it.
Yeah.
From a resource standpoint, just to all of y'all, like, I am actually going to talk to the youth pastor of my church about bringing some people in to train, you know, to be able to handle, you know, the high-risk population of gang-affiliated youth coming into church. How do you respond? How do you build relationship? How do you chill out with your nervousness and fears, and just know that you have something more powerful than what they might seem like they come threatening you with. You know?
Amen.
Yep. So y'all be hearing from me for sure. Yep.
Also on the DVULI website, if you go to the directory, there is an option to look for people that work within this area of Affinity. So you can see other people from cohorts that work with gang intervention.
We probably have a good 40 or 50 alumni that are identified to do this kind of work. I wish more of them could have been on. But yeah, this was a great conversation. Really, really was. All right. Much love and kudos. And may I celebrate Amy for the work you're doing in Chicago, Thell, the work you're doing in Columbus, my hometown where I grew up. And you talk about the north. I grew up on the north side, and it's done got crazy up there now.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah. I mean, it's always been crazy, but they just showed off Saturday morning, man. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. We got something for them next Thursday, though.
Okay. All right. On that note, let me just pray for y'all real quick before we jump off. All right. Father God, we just want to take this moment to tell you, thank you, Lord. Thank you for your hand upon each of these people's lives. They could be someplace else doing so many other things. But God, I pray in Jesus' name that you will continue to cover, protect them, and sustain them in the work that they're doing in their communities. For the young people whose lives they have access to, for the young people whose lives they're touching, for the young people that they're influencing, God, let their work be effective. Let it be led by your spirit. Let it be anointed at all times. Let the young people, dear Lord, drop their weapons, drop their all their symbols and all of the other stuff, dear Lord, that is distracting them from you because of the work that they're doing. I pray, dear Lord, for every mission statement and vision statement, every budget, dear Lord, let it just reek with abundance, dear God, and let it overflow, dear Lord, in their communities and their cities, wherever they're serving. Thank you, Lord God, for every book, for every resource that has been articulated, every opportunity, dear Lord, to grow. Let these young people just flourish in their ministries because of what's in store for them. That is your kingdom coming and your will being done on earth as it is in heaven. We speak blessings over each of them and safety. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank y'all. Stay strong in the Lord. This means a lot to us. We hope to see y'all
Right.
again soon before the year is up.